Hi, welcome to Monarch Moments. I'm Rika McDonald.
And I'm Danelle Miranda. Thank you for joining us.
The Office of Multicultural Affairs has continued their Our Voices panel this semester. Medical challenges faced by students in their lives was the topic of discussion.
It is like a skin pigment disease or condition, and it can come at any time. Mine happened to come when I was 3, and it's the lack of melanin in your skin, like the brown pigment, and it kind of just leaves, and you're left with white spots, and the hair there also turns white where the spots are. A lot of people like to make up stories about how you got them, and it was just an odd experience, I guess. And one time I was in the middle of a basketball game, and one of the refs, we were lining up for a free throw, and he asked me if I got into a car accident and suffered third-degree burns. And I just remember thinking how odd it was that he took time out of the game to ask me that question.
In 2001, I was in the 8th grade, and I was taking a class. I was taking an English and grammar class, which was 2 classes, 2 hours back to back kind of thing, with one teacher. And the teacher had a clock on the wall behind her. And about Thanksgiving or so, into November, I noticed that the hands on the clock actually seemed to be doubled over, and the top of the clock itself seemed to be doubled over. And I'd been complaining since August, about these horrific headaches I was having. I was having nausea due to the headaches, so I figured the last thing I needed to do was start complaining about actually seeing 2 of everything. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just keep this to myself. So by December of that same year of 2001, I started seeing 2 completely different objects from one another, and I saw 2 everywhere I looked, so to speak. And my eyes also had become paralyzed, so I thought, well, maybe if I don't say anything, it'll go away. And then 4 months later, when I was in the Duke emergency room after I'd had an MRI, the neurologist on call did a quick eye exam, and she said, "How long have you been seeing 2 of everything?" And my mom cut in. She said, "Oh, no, she hasn't been seeing 2 of everything." And I said, about 4 months, I think. And Mom and Dad were like, "Oh, I can't believe you didn't tell us. Can't believe you didn't tell us." It was like I said, a bad but funny situation, because they, started fussing at me about not telling them about my visual impairment, or not being able to see things correctly. And the neurologist finally said, "Okay, time out. I think we've got bigger issues here at hand to deal with." So. Well, I know after my first surgery, I woke up and my eyes were no longer paralyzed, but that's all I could move. I couldn't move anything from my cheekbones down to my toes. And my parents said I couldn't, and needless to say, couldn't talk. And my parents said that I could hear everything around them. I knew that. But my parents said they could just see the frustration in my eyes from not being able to do anything other than talk. Other than move my eyes to indicate, blink once for yes and twice for no. So I guess just the frustration that came along with that was really just the biggest thing that I overcame. And also learning how to, I guess, deal with walking and what have you, because I didn't actually get a cane until about 4.5 years after I became visually impaired. And so getting the cane helped me an immense deal, because that made me able to look up when I walked versus looking down. And it was actually pretty funny. Before I was diagnosed visually impaired, I went on a Make-A-Wish trip with the Disney cruise. And we went to Nassau, and because Nassau floods so much, the sidewalks are about 2 feet off the ground. Well, my mom and I didn't understand that I couldn't see anything below my nose, so she kept saying, "Look up when you walk, look up when you walk. It's not normal for you to look down." So I was looking up, and I stepped off a sidewalk and nearly fell over, because, like I said, it was a 2-foot drop, and I didn't realize it, so without my depth perception or being able to see anything. But like I said, it all turned out well. But it's been difficult, but the more years I've had, I've gotten more used to it and learned how to manipulate my eyes and stuff like that. So.
Those were great stories. We also had some fun activities on campus this semester. Bethany, why don't you tell us about some of those events?
Thank you, Danelle. Methodist University was thrilled to be able to support the Special Olympics here in Fayetteville and celebrate National Pie Day. Methodist also featured the mind-reading talents of Johnny Zavant.
I would need the help of 5 people to be. I love you, sir. Yes, outstanding. Go ahead and come up. Yes, perfect. Yes. Let's see. How about... You, sir. Yes, perfect. And, go ahead and join us up on stage.
Johnny has brought the tributes on the stage.
Or one more person. Oh! We'll just put those there for a minute. Yes, your hands up. Go ahead and join us in a near Olympic display of speed and agility. That's right. Come on. am your next contestant on Games Trial Planet Show. All right, so you guys are college folks, so here is your very first test. Please arrange yourselves in reverse alphabetical pipeline boy-girl order. I'll give you a hint. You had it right to begin with.
Are some people a little confused?
They might be again. Boy-girl order. Watch your language, guys. Hey, we got it! I just need you guys to understand that not all of the show we do for you guys. Some of this we do just because we're sadistic weirdos like that. So here's what's going to happen. Please take a marker, pass the rest down. Do not sniff markers, although that is how mind reading works. But on the name badges, I'm going to ask that you please print your name nice and big. Yep. Perfect. Make sure that print it nice and neat, just like so. Yeah, whatever makes you happy. And then I'm going to make one for Caroline. This is my absolute favorite part of the show. Good. You guys know the problem. There we go.
Know what you're thinking about?
Well, it's been a long time on the road. So, guys, put the tags back on the markers, pass them down to my end, please. And then the name tags, pass them down to the opposite end, face down so that nobody can see what they are. And then your job, sir, is to mix them up, please. So if they were in any particular order, just completely destroy it. And then, bring them on over. Thank you very much. Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, please. I mean, you can't understand. We're going to order you guys number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Positions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that way, she's going to try to figure out where each person is standing. If she gets this right or wrong, don't say anything, keep a poker face, right? Perfect. So first up, we have Paul.
This is a very strong name. There's some strong funding behind me. I'm going to assume 5th position. Closest to me.
All right, next up.
3rd position.
I didn't even say the person's name. It's Maddie.
Matt is they're in the 3rd position.
Okay, well, I at least need to say your name, otherwise I don't have anything to do up here.
Well, I can say it.
Kind of useless, but you're saying the 3rd position. Roar. Okay, next up we have Nick.
1st position.
First position. Next up we have Amber.
Amber is in the 4th position.
4th position. Hands before another lawsuit. All right, so Caroline, using her amazing psychic powers, has figured out where each of you are standing. On the count of 3, I'm going to snap my fingers. If you are properly matched by Caroline, I'm going to ask you go back to your seat, escorted by a fantastic round of applause from everybody here. 1, 2, 3.
Get over, Gidarno! Gidarno! Get over, move! Hands up. Rebound, good job, Brad. Darno, get the ball. Rebound. Good job, girl. Good work.
We definitely got off to a great start on campus this semester, Danelle.
Yes, we have, Bethany. Thank you. Methodist also took the opportunity to engage in a community activity here in Fayetteville in celebration of Martin Luther King Day. Some of the participants reflected on the experience.
Full of the faith that the darkness has taught us. Sing our song.
Went to Spring Lake and we cleaned up, basically pick up trash off of Main Street, off of Walmart. And Dr. Martin Luther King will really appreciate this because there's a lot of trash and all over the roads, and us just picking that up, it basically saves the earth and the environment.
We went to Main Street, I believe, and we went into the woods and cleaned up like a lot of trash. We found bumpers, tires. I got attacked by a couple of trees. I got thorns in my thighs, but that's cool. I'm gonna still live. So community service is all about uplifting, so that's what Dr. King would have wanted.
You can imagine what 50 people can do versus 5 or 6 that come out here during the week.
Okay.
It's a lot of man hours. And if they're out here 4 hours, that's 200 man hours. That's like 5 weeks
Oh, okay. So it does
worth
do.
of labor. So it does a lot of good.
3 schools came together to work together for the good of mankind, and we did a lot of excellent volunteer work today.
A long time ago, there used to be a comic strip that appeared in the newspaper daily. The title of it was Priscilla's Pop. And my favorite all-time comic strip from that was one day, Priscilla's father was complaining about all the stuff he was reading in the news. He was complaining about all the things going on in the world. He was complaining about the economy. He was complaining about everything. And Priscilla, that was his daughter, little small daughter, looked up at him and said, "Well, Daddy, why don't you fix it?" And her father looked back at her and said, "But baby, I'm only one person." And Priscilla, like any small child would do, looking up at their father, believing that they could do anything in the world, says, "But Daddy, isn't that all anybody is?" Those who forget their past, those who forget their history, are destined to repeat it. Technology will be your generation's great uniter or your generation's great divider. You sit in everything you do now, probably some of you now looking down at your cell phones, texting. I see young people sit in sessions. The most amazing thing, you go to clubs and you see people sitting, I don't go to clubs anymore, but I've been in them. And you go in and you sit, and there's 2 people sitting there texting, and you go, "But you all on a date, why are you texting somebody else?" "No, we're texting one another." "Why don't you just talk?" Okay? Technology will be your great uniter or great divider. I'm going to go back to the first one, the thing of history. I think there's something you need to understand. People talk about keeping it real. Let me explain to you. I'm going to take you back about 50 years. I was 13 years old, and a middle school in a small town north of here, still in North Carolina. And I had developed the habit of walking home from school. I walked home because I wanted to walk home. Both of my parents were teachers, and both of them drove to school every day. I could have ridden to school. I could have ridden back from school, but I decided I wanted to walk home from school, and I did that every day. I lived on the opposite side of town from where my school was. So I'd walk back home every day. And I generally walked by myself. And I'd stop in at a little place there in town, Harris's Pharmacy, and I'd walk in, I'd go up to the counter, I'd buy a lemonade, large lemonade, and I'd exchange pleasantries with the cashier behind the counter, and I get my lemonade and I walk on home. I'd walk past Lewisburg College. Some of you may know where that is, all right? One day, I happened to be walking with a group of other young people from my school. And so we walked into Harris's Pharmacy, and I did not understand why they kept going when I stopped at the counter. It just wasn't, it didn't register with me. They walked to the back. And I walked up to the cashier that I had walked up to every day that week before, the week before that also, and ordered my lemonade. And she looked at me and said, "We don't serve colored people here. You have to go to the back of the store." That was the day I knew what colored people were. I knew there was segregation in the South. But that was the first day anybody had ever referred to me as a colored person. All right? Now, I found out, I realized then that she knew that there were rules to segregation in the South. The problem we had was we all knew one another. And as we knew one another, we kind of relaxed around those rules in a lot of small towns. So it wasn't a big deal for us. We literally that's my chief of staff. Thank you. We literally ignored a lot of the rules. But on that day, that was the first day, I became colored at the Harris's Pharmacy. It was also the last day I went there. And I also found out a few months later that the kids around the block that I had been playing with for years, when they had friends over that we didn't know. It was all about somebody coming into the set that you didn't know and they didn't know you. And so then the rules of this concept of segregation kicked in. So I became an N-word to my friends that I had grown up with right around the corner. But I started off saying this is really about the power of one and about the fact that when America gets ready, things happen. In January of 1865, Abraham Lincoln was trying to get the 13th Amendment passed the U.S. House of Representatives. Nobody on his cabinet thought it was possible. Everybody told him, don't do it, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of political capital, it just isn't worth it, the war's going to end anyway, stop it, go on about your life. Abraham Lincoln stood as one person so we could sit in this room today as a group. Fast forward just a few years, Martin Luther King, 1963, a year later, at delivering his speech at the White House, or on the grounds of the Capitol. All right? His I Have a Dream speech, he spoke as one person. If you read the history of what was happening in the civil rights movement, man, it was about to fracture. In August of 1963, when he delivered that speech, had he not been as eloquent as he was, had he not delivered the kind of speech that he did, had he not galvanized so many people, it is entirely possible that the whole civil rights movement could have disintegrated. One person, when America was dealing with concepts that it was not ready for. Never underestimate the power of the one if America gets ready.
What a great effort in bringing people together. We also had the Enactors Group panel sharing their experiences.
Where all members have access to exclusive offers for internships and jobs for students who are members with Enactors. And it's not even everything yet. It's free. It is probably one of the only very useful organizations, and their membership is free for students. As long as you're there, participating, joining the projects, going to competitions, it's free. All you need to do is just to put your creative energy to it. So I guess it briefly tells you what it is, for those of you who didn't know. If you have any questions, about how it works, what projects we're working on, maybe, do you want to know?
I forgot to add, at the regional competitions, you also get numerous opportunities to network with different companies there as well. Because they also set up like little booths, and you can go find out about how you could possibly get an internship with those companies, and you can make contact. Get contacts from those companies, so that when you do eventually get in touch with them, you can say, remember we met at the Enactus conference, and that'll be a good way to possibly even put your name above most other resumes that are coming in.
They took my resumes and I'm just a sophomore, and then telling me, oh, you're a sophomore, well, it's good to have your resume, but we're gonna think of you next year. And then I go to the bathroom to wash my hands, and then there's this lady, and then she asked me about the conference, and then I discover that she is the Coca-Cola company recruiter, and then she likes me so much. She's like, so what is your name, and then what year are you? Please give me your resume. And just like that, I can get an internship just by meeting her somewhere awkward, but you can really get to know people, and like big CEOs that can give you their cards number, and you can get internships better than other people. So.
I also have some good opportunities because you actually have a career development center there, and you actually walked around and went to individual tables and talked to big name organizations like Sam's Club, CVS, some really big ones, and some old ones too, like Coke and Pepsi. They say every company you would want in like food distribution, anywhere all the way up. My personal experience out there when I went, actually got job offers out there because it's a great opportunity for people looking for future jobs in the United States and outside too, because they also do offer international programs, which Ezra was one person that actually went out there and talked to the main international distributor out there for cellular communications. So good for IT majors as well.
Another awesome thing that they have introduced, they're partnering with different organizations each year, and this time I think it's OB. And the topic competition for this one is cleaning pollution from oceans. So they give you the criteria, and they give you, okay, this is what we expect you to write. This is how many letters. This is a format. Here's a deadline. And I think the least, the smallest award, I would say, is $1,500 plus a trophy, and the largest you can get is $7,500 for your team. And this is the money that you can use to go to all these conferences and competitions, or set up new projects, build businesses or donate things. In fact, the next leadership conference will take place in Cancun, Mexico. So and it's free. You don't have to pay for registrations, especially for those of you who have gone with Methodist, with other organizations. There's always some kind of registration fee. It's all made for you. And the reason why is because of all those dozens of publicly traded companies that have partnered with Enactus to seek talent like yourselves.
Our Vice President of Business Affairs, Gene Clayton, was honored with a banquet for 50 years of service at MU. He's shown how much the university means to him, and Methodist got a chance to show how much he means to us.
Gene and some of his followers, no better way to put them, were standing in front of the quad. And if you haven't had a chance to go out and see the quad, I hope you will before you leave this evening, but I warned the folks who were standing there that there's a story behind every photo. So you're going to be there all night and wait for Gene to tell all those stories. It's a wonderful way to spend the evening, by the way. And if you are in the morning early with Gene, as I am every day, you hear a lot of stories. More than once. And he laughs each time he tells it like it's the first time he's ever heard it. But that's a sign of a great story. And that's a sign of a great person who has great stories.
So I'm very pleased to be able to have the Chamber Singers perform this evening under the direction of Michael Martin.
Shall we hold God?
said, I'm going to pick out all the stories I need to tell, and I made a list, and I ran a practice run, and it was 3.5 hours. I promise tonight it's not going to be that long, and some of you are very lucky because I'm not going to include you. I do want to thank some people. First of all, I want to thank the good Lord for letting me live 72 years so that I could work here. But actually, the way I see it, it's not really work here. It's a place to learn. So I have been at a place to learn for 50 years. I'm the lucky one to be at the right place, the right time, to grow with this university. Now, I would give a serious speech, but you can see the two presidents who have influenced me. There is no serious speech. Second, I want to thank my wife, Pat, for letting me learn here for these years. In the early years, I was a coach, and I was never home. I was either coaching or scouting or recruiting, and we had some successful years, and actually Pat raised the two girls in our family. The 50 years is important. However, there's another 50 year that Pat is concerned about, and that's our anniversary coming up. Sometime this spring, I can't remember the month. Oh, I know. It's in, I think, September, October, right? No. It's April the 20th, right? No, I know what date it is. You'd never forget the anniversary date and the birthday date. But don't ask me the birth date of my children or my grandchildren. I want to thank you for coming tonight. My speech will be different tomorrow, I can guarantee you. Thank you for your support of Methodist University, and it is my privilege to work at this institution.
I'm looking forward to seeing more of the semester progresses.
So am I. Thank you for joining us here on Monarch Moments. I'm Rika McDonald.
And I'm Danelle Miranda. See you next time.
Have a good night.